The Steelers get a close win Thursday night over the Tennessee Titans 20-6. The Tennessee Titans definitely have something special in Will Levis. I felt throughout the first four quarters and a couple minutes of this game, Will Levis was the better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. There were just certain throws that Will Levis was able to make that Kenny Pickett would never be able to make in his whole entire career. He had a couple of big third down throws in the tight windows. He was able to make throws with defenders all over him. And he was doing this behind a backup offensive line that was full of mostly second and third stringers. Meanwhile, when you look at Kenny Pickett, it wasn't a perfect game. He had a really good opening drive, and then after that, he was missing wide open throws. He had a crossing route to George Pickens earlier in this game on third down that he missed. But in typical Kenny Pickett fashion, he elevated his play in the fourth quarter when it mattered the most. And that's the thing that I have with Kenny Pickett. He doesn't light up the box score, but in the fourth quarter, if the Steelers need him to put them in position to win the game, he comes through more times than not. And he's a really scrappy player. And Matt Canada, we can all say that he called the best game of his whole entire Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator career. This was a really good game that he called on the offensive side of the football. And you got to give him a lot of credit for the way that this Steelers offense played with his play calling. Maybe he needs to be calling plays on the sidelines for the remainder of the season. The run game finally was able to get going. Both Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris had really good games. And when you look at the Steelers defense, of course, we know that this is going to be the key to the Steelers being able to have a successful season, because we know that you're not going to be able to expect too much from this offense. I mean, we're giving Matt Canada praise for the Steelers offense putting up 20 points. And we consider this to be one of the best games that he's ever called plays for. Meanwhile, this defense, though, they were able to get a big-time interception that pretty much sealed the game against the Tennessee Titans. The secondary is awful. The front seven is really good, but the Steelers drastically need to address the cornerback position in the offseason. Joey Porter Jr., he didn't have a great game. He had a good amount of penalties. He was getting worked by DeAndre Hopkins. Patrick Peterson, he was pretty solid, but outside of him, this Steelers secondary is god-awful. This may have been one of the worst secondaries that Mike Tomlin has put on the field in all his years being the head coach of the Steelers. The D-line, the linebackers, they're great. The secondary, not so much. And you can definitely tell that Minkah Fitzpatrick was missed in this game. His impact definitely was felt when he was healthy, and hopefully he's able to come back sooner rather than later, because if the Steelers have to go the next month or so without Minkah Fitzpatrick, I definitely think it could cost them a couple of games, because this secondary is definitely not going to be able to hold up without his presence in the back end of this defense. Overall, the Steelers improved to 5-3 on the season. They don't win pretty. Okay, the Steelers are one of those teams that they're going to be in a lot of tough games. They're going to be tightly contested. They're not the kind of ball club that's going to blow a team out. When you have a below average offense, you can't expect games to be all that pretty. Things are going to be ugly. And going against a really physical football team like the Tennessee Titans, who kind of have a similar style of play as you, we knew that this game probably was going to come down to, whoever got the ball last, whose defense was going to be able to get the big stop in the big moment. And the Steelers were able to do that. Like I said, Will Levis played a really good game. I felt like he was the best quarterback in this game for the first four quarters and midway through up the fourth quarter, until Kenny Pickett started to wake up. He hit Deontay Johnson on the sideline. Then he was able to hit Deontay Johnson in the end zone for a touchdown. And like I said earlier, Kenny Pickett, he doesn't really light up the box score. He's more so those quarterbacks that's able to elevate his play in the fourth quarter when the Steelers needed him to pull through and put them in position to succeed. So I don't really know how to properly evaluate a guy like Kenny Pickett. I've never seen a quarterback have this kind of style of play where he'll be garbage for the first couple of quarters, and then all of a sudden he looks all world in the fourth quarter. But Will Levis, to me, looked like the better quarterback for majority of this game up until the closing minutes of the fourth quarter. This is when we started to see Will Levis play like a rookie. He nearly threw an interception on one of the first plays during the final drive, and if it wasn't for that penalty by Joey Porter on DeAndre Hopkins, the Steelers would have had this game wrapped up even sooner. But I think that the future definitely is bright with Will Levis at the helm at quarterback for the Titans. You definitely do have your guy. This was somebody who was slated to be a top 10 pick, and he fell all the way to the second round during draft night. My biggest knock that I had on Will Levis is that when I watched him at Kentucky, he wasn't really great taking care of the football in late game situations, and you definitely saw that appear late in this game. But with what he had to work with on the offensive line and how well he played, he was able to get the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, something that Ryan Tannehill didn't know how the hell to do. Literally, like, the key to getting DeAndre Hopkins going is throwing him the freaking football. It's just simple as that. You see DeAndre Hopkins downfield, you say, fuck it. You just chuck it downfield and let him go to work. So Will Levis, he definitely looks more and more like the franchise quarterback of the Tennessee Titans every single game he plays in. And we've seen a small sample size out of Will Levis. But in the first two games that he started in for Tennessee, he's looked really poised. He's looked cool, calm, and collected under pressure. And you just hope that his decision-making can be slightly better late in games. I was really impressed with what I saw out of Will Levis tonight against a really good defense. Even though the secondary is cheeks, to be able to have this kind of composure against guys like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Cam Hayward gives me a lot of confidence if I'm a Titans fan about Levis moving forward. And CJ Stroud had a really nice performance against the Steelers defense. Even though the Steelers secondary is not that great, for you to have this kind of performance against a defensive-minded coach and Mike Tomlin, and you're the rookie, definitely has to show that you have a potential, or you have potential in this league to be a really good quarterback, because this is a really good defense. Not just any quarterback can have success against the Steelers defensive front and Mike Tomlin. But overall, the Steelers, hard-fought win over the Tennessee Titans, 20-16. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below.